It's on.
Great job. Town of Pierson regular meeting for Tuesday, June the 25th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. will now come to order. Vaughn, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Samuel Bennett.
Here.
Vice Mayor Robert Greenland.
Here.
Councilwoman Sergio Cardenas.
Here.
Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
Here.
Councilwoman Brandy Peterson.
Here.
Town Planner Mark Pratt.
Here.
Town Attorney Christian Law.
Here.
And the Lee County Sheriff is present.
Okay. Thank you. This time, if you would please bow for the invocation. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for this day that you blessed us with. Thank you for everyone that is in attendance tonight. Dear God, be with us as we consider the business before us. Be with the men and women that are in serving their country. I pray for their safety and safe return. I pray for anyone that's in public service. Just lift them up. Be with us. Just pray for our whole country. And thank you for this community in which we've been blessed with. I ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item for consideration, the regular minutes for the June 11th, 2024 meeting. This time, are there any additions or deletions? If none, the mayor would entertain a motion for approval. A motion on the floor by Brandy Peterson for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sergio Cardenas. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, next item, 5A, homecoming parade and road closure. Do we have a Jessica Bell here this evening? Welcome.
Jessica Bell from Taylorville High School. We're wanting to do the homecoming parade October 26th at 10 a.m. And it would be the same route. It would go from the school right at 17 to 2nd, Old 17, back to Washington. And I don't think that it interferes with the rodeo or anything.
Well, that's tradition. So we,
Saturday.
yeah. Yeah, it's tradition. The only thing different is that we used to have it on the day of the school was still in session,
right.
but
Yeah.
but now it's. I think last year it was Saturday also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mayor would entertain a motion to do the road closure and set the date for the parade as requested by Mrs. Bell.
I move to approve Saturday, October 26th, beginning at 10 a.m. Road closures for the homecoming parade.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by our Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland. Motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second by Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Okay, 5B, grant discussion and action, Deputy Clerk Ryan Smith.
We've used Fred Fox Enterprises in the past for grant writing. We used them a couple years ago to get 2 FERDAP grants through, I think it's Florida DEP that does the FERDAP grants. They're usually for outdoor recreation. stuff at the ball fields, the rodeo grounds. So I spoke to Fred Fox. Pierson is in a weird situation because we're a rural community, but we're in what they consider an urban county. So what Fred had done for us last time is he got us approved for a READY designation, which is a Rural Economic Development Initiative, which basically says we meet 4 of these criteria. Our population is below a certain amount of the population lives at or below the poverty line, we're rural. In other words, if we can give Pierson a READY designation, I think it's good for 2 years. And that gives you extra points when they score grant applications. So it kind of moves you to the top of the list if you have a READY designation. That's how they got us the 2 FERDAP grants in the past. You can also use that READY designation sometimes to apply for a waiver on the matched funds. In other words, the way they usually work is from 0 to 50,000, you don't have to pay a match. From 50,000 to 100,000, you got to pay 25%. But the READY designation lets you apply for a waiver for that, possibly up to the $200,000. In other words, if you got approved for that, you could maybe get the full 200 without having to put any of your own money in. Anyway, that expired last year, and the FERDAP closed last year. So I spoke to Fred and said, how much would it cost us for you to prepare all of that documentation to apply for that READY designation again, so that we could potentially explore getting another FERDAP grant or any other state grant. So Fred's proposal on that is $3,000 to prepare it all, but he only collects the money if we actually get the designation. If we're denied for it, we don't pay him anything. But I know that's what we did in the past. He's done it for us before. I just wanted to know if the council wanted to do that again, and that way they could then proceed to apply for grants on our behalf. We can get with them and discuss which projects we think need to be tackled, but I just know that we keep talking a lot about replacing a lot of this stuff or upgrading this stuff, but I don't know that the town wants to fund 100% of it, given how much all that equipment is. So that's what the email is here. Just, you can kind of read through. Fred kind of explains what it is. He mentions that it's $3,000. Payment would be contingent upon our approval for a READY status. And then, he does mention it's for a term of 2 years. And he says there are a number of other programs where being a READY community either allows the town to waive match requirements or provide additional points in the competition, which would sort of score your application a little bit higher. So I'll leave that up to the council.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. So the question is,
This is a no-brainer.
yeah, so we would approve for Fred to try to get that designation.
READY designation.
And Fred has done all the FERDAP stuff for us in the past, so they're obviously familiar with the process. So then we would discuss if we got that READY designation. I think August, September is when they open the next FERDAP cycle. So we have to come up with a plan and decide which park we want to tackle or which part of the park we want to tackle, come up with some numbers, and then I'm assuming we would use Fred to then apply for another FERDAP grant on our behalf like he did before.
Well, Fred Fox Enterprise has done an outstanding service for the town. When we opted out and left the county grant program and went with Fred Fox. So I'm all for it. I think that's great. So,
Yes, I feel the same way.
And I'd just like to add to maybe in the near future, we need to do a grant workshop or something, because there's also the ECHO grant. And I think I mentioned last time I spoke with Jana Register at Seville VIA, because she had gotten the grant to do upgrades on that building, which is historical. But there is also ECHO money, which does require a match on our part. But we could potentially use that at the park as well. We could use that for rodeo grounds. We could use it for, bathrooms up at the park. And, but there's a lot of money out there that we just haven't gone for. And I would just like to get a consensus from the council, because it is a lot of groundwork. So I don't want to start anything until we all decide, yes, we want to do it. Here's our priority list. So maybe, you know, here in the next month or so, we can do a workshop on that and discuss that further. But for now, I'd like, if you do want to approve it, Fred probably needs to get started on that sooner rather than later. I don't know how long it takes.
Well, I would hope that we would move forward on this.
Do you need a motion, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I move that we, allow Ryan to work with Red Fox Enterprises to obtain our ready status again and proceed with any, grant possibilities.
okay, we have a motion on the floor by Lenny Richardson to have, to move forward with the ready designation, through Fred Fox and Ryan to work with him. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brandy Pierson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? So carried. Okay. VRA fees, discussion and action, Vice Mayor Robert Greenland.
I had, at our workshop we had several weeks ago, I had made some notes and everything, and I had my notes at our last meeting, and I have misplaced my notes, so ladies that were here that day, I might need some help from you and Mark as well. But, I don't remember discussing the fees. Did we discuss any fees associated with this? Mark, can you help me out?
Just very generally, I mean, I think there's some language in the code of ordinance that discusses, two classes of violations, one criminal and one civil. And so there are some of those that are established in the code of ordinances.
They're already established, the fees are?
Yeah, I think, but the way it's written is like up to, right?
Mhm.
Like up to $500 a day for, criminal and potentially, a notice to appear, and maybe losing some of your freedom on that, if it's criminal. But, civil, I think I think up to 500 as well.
There are some ordinances in the code of ordinances that the actual ordinances themselves specify a fee or a charge. And then at the very beginning of the code of ordinances, it basically says, if there is not a specific fee for an ordinance, here is the general one that and it's $50 a day up to $500. So, you know, I know some people thought for certain violations that might be low, considering what, you know, you guys have some pictures of some stuff up there that $500, someone might just want to pay that and keep violating that, violating that ordinance. So I don't know what the process is. Mark, does that have to go to planning and zoning or somebody to change fees if we think that they're outdated?
Not the
Or,
code of ordinances.
well, some of them are also, there's a couple things in the LDR that specify fees for violating, you know, like the digging of lakes and stuff like that.
Okay, well, anyway, we also decided or discussed at the workshop that, our clerk would be the RA, correct?
Correct.
She would handle the documentation.
She received the claim.
Yeah, she received the complaint, she would handle the documentation, she would delegate to the employees, you know, to go document and,
Work with Christian and Mark on what.
Exactly. Exactly. And, give the person that the complaint is on a reasonable time to come in compliance. I think was set at 30 days, if I recall. And at the end of 30 days, if they haven't come into compliance, then we could start.
I think the conversation is it would depend on, you know, some violations should not be given 30 days.
if it's a health,
Right,
safety,
if it's a health-
sanitary type
Right.
thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Most things it would be 30 days or in certain circumstances, it could be longer, or at least you give somebody initially.
Mhm.
So
And-
at what juncture did this become official? At the last meeting when we approved the DRA?
Well, I mean, two-part answer to that. One is the laws are already on the books, so that part of it's already been there. But yes, when you appointed the DRA,
Okay.
then now both components are there and
Okay.
it can be acted upon. And Ryan correctly described the way that your fees work, in section 1-12. That can be amended if you wish, but it's kind of a discretionary thing. That's the range. And so normally usually it's not a DRA, but usually, a special master or magistrate or code board, they assess the fine based on the severity of the violation, the nature of if someone's cooperative or not. There's just a whole bunch of factors that are taken into account. It's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all. I mean, these things could be, even if the violation is the same, the facts could still be wildly different. So that's why there is discretion vested in the DRA to have a range.
Talking about the DRA, can I bring up the picture that everybody knows?
Yes.
That's my first complaint. Somebody that came and spoke with Mark Correct asked if they could dig a pond or,
The first question was, could I dig an irrigation pond on my property? And my response to them was, well, if you have active ag, you can certainly dig an irrigation pond. Then the question was, well, what if I don't have any ag, any active ag on my property? Well, you have to, it's an accessory to your ag, you have to establish active ag, and then you can dig an irrigation pond. There were probably a couple other interim pond questions too. We talked about whether ponds could be dug, for single-family homes. Anyway, I got to a certain point where I, let them know that, if you're establishing a borrow pit, that's an actual business. In order to be allowed, it needs to be a listed permitted use in the town of Pierson. If you're, selling dirt, and it's not a permitted use anywhere in the code. And obviously, if you're moving it around as associated with your agriculture use, that's permitted and that's associated with your agricultural activity. But, just to sell dirt, that's a borrow pit, and many communities have lots of very rigorous rules associated with how that's done. Town of Pierson does not, because it's not permitted, it's just prohibited use. So if you wanted to come forward to the town and establish a borrow pit, you'd have to, ask to do so, and we would go through a process of establishing rules, and once those rules were in place, they could apply and establish a borrow pit.
Is this a borrow pit?
This is the same complaint I've already had before we had a DRA that I had to call and send drawings and they
so
sent
yes, it
me
is a
the-
borough that they're selling
Yes.
the dirt, and
There's
they have
some-
now started to modify the edge of Lake Pierson.
Do they make any? Do they quibble with that? I mean, do they agree that?
You say they are selling the dirt, how do we know that?
Cause we know people that buy it.
Okay.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah,
Good.
so, well,
Those are people who would be willing to.
yeah, that's relevant for the investigation.
Well, this is another thing on the investigation. This same business sold their business a couple years ago, so they had a non-compete. So for a couple years, they could not work in this industry. However, their contract is up, and now they are starting their own business with their own dump truck, with their name on the side of it, digging this dirt.
In town limits?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, What's your question?
My question is, I received a complaint from the neighbor that lives directly beside this person. Very upset, he's talked to Ryan, he called me several times.
Mhm.
And I told him we were working on this DRA thing, I need to know basically how, the steps that we're gonna follow to do this. Because this person also is probably not gonna be as compliant as most people would be.
Well, so normally, I mean, I'll pull up the code and tell you, but my understanding off the top of my head of what the code says is you do an investigation, which involves whoever is buying, you know, we make notes, we get these things in writing just to establish. If you determine that there's a violation, then a notice of violation is gonna have to be issued. And we can talk about that, we can look at the form.
My other question for you, Kristen, is it was reported to the Department of Environmental, and they're coming out July 2nd to look at this property.
So-
Do we go any further, or do we wait until they investigate? Because this is like a whole
They're
new
just,
realm of.
there are multiple tracks. In
Yeah.
fact, you know, I don't wanna go too far into the weeds, but theoretically, based on a violation that they find, even if it's not in the town code, you could probably enforce it. I don't think we're going that direction right now. I mean, that's up to the town council. But, it's just two different tracks. One doesn't supersede the other. It's concerning because if they do, when they get involved, they point out the kind of stuff that is what we talked about earlier, like health, safety, sanitary stuff.
And that's weird.
You know, because sometimes you see like faux motorhome parks or whatever where they don't have septic, they don't have nothing, and, you know, it's gross, right? But in any event, the, answer your question is you do a notice of violation, a reasonable amount of time to bring it into compliance would be allowed, usually. Here, what do they have to do to bring it into compliance? They'd have to cease all activity and probably fill in the pit, to be honest. This is just me off the top of my head. I'm not, I'm.
But they probably have to go buy dirt from somebody else.
Yeah, I know. But so I'm not, I'll talk to you about it, but that's off the top of my head what my thoughts would be.
Yes, Sue?
Someone who is calling people and saying, this came to knowledge, Mr. Roberts was called, and he said, we'll leave you a pond, you will give us a free pond to give us the dirt. So this is happening around town.
They're advertising it on Facebook.
Hmm.
It's on there, where's the dirt, it's that same piece of property, I mean, we've all.
Watch
know what
the
it
trucks
looks
go
like,
in and out,
right?
in and out, in and out.
This is your jurisdiction now.
I mean, I know that
I
we
know,
talked
but
about, we don't
I
want
was hoping to start with
enforcement
something small.
Does that,
and all that, but if we don't make an example out of somebody, they're gonna keep doing it, and the next thing we know, we're gonna be nothing but the town of Lena, little ponds.
I know Lars owned that piece of property. And
At
did-
one time, yes.
Yes, and
Yes, it is.
wasn't that Fernery on that piece of property though? Or is it two separate parcels?
Two
It's
separate
two
parcels.
It is two separate parcels?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
The fernery's still there next to it.
Right,
the
yeah,
town.
to the west of it.
Yes.
I just didn't know if that was two separate parcels or
Right.
if that Fernery was on that parcel. And that would be his argument. But if it's not, then no, there's no agriculture on that at all.
And Mark, your discussion with this person, you told him it's not permitted?
Correct,
Basically.
we have the email. It was an email discussion, well, he didn't come in, but then it was an email discussion when it moved on to ag and building a pond.
And what is the zoning on this? It's ag?
But because it's zoned ag doesn't mean it's bona fide, correct?
No, as I indicated, to have the irrigation pond as an accessory, irrigation pond is not a primary permitted use. It has to be accessory to furthering a primary. The primary use would be some type of active agriculture. The zoning, just because something's zoned residential doesn't mean there's a house on it, right? Just because it's zoned ag doesn't mean it's farm.
And just because it's zone ag doesn't give you the right just to go in there and start,
No, there's, know that they're selling dirt, it's a prohibited use. Right? I mean,
I think we should talk outside the meeting.
I just wanted to bring it to their attention because they said they wanted it to be kept in the loop. and
Absolutely.
this is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
first one that
yeah,
came
yeah.
up,
They should
so.
know. They should know.
And it was already, like I said, we already
It was
started this
kind of
process.
pre-existing
Right.
since we had talked to them with planning.
Well, there was no gap at all between y'all appointing a DRA and folks coming out of the woodwork. Wow.
I've had several, but most of the other ones have given up or said, never mind, so.
They don't want their name on it.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
They
a
just
big
wanna be
problem.
the
A lot
one
of
that
people are
complain
complaining that
about it.
nobody
No,
wants
that's
to
not
get
the
their
way it
name down
works.
as a
Yeah, you
complaint.
That's not the way it works. Yep.
You got to, go on the record as with your name, if you file a complaint.
And do we have that?
And we also.
We do.
and we
I'm on
al-
record for this with my name.
Okay.
I also have the complaint of the neighbor right here.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other?
That's all I have
Okay.
regarding that.
Okay, moving to the next item, 5D, First Baptist Church adjustment for water leak, Ray Leonard.
The water bills haven't came out yet, but, a few days back, I believe it was Justin went by to read the water meter at our church, at the Baptist church, and the meter was like spinning out of control. Unbeknown to anyone, they're doing some remodeling work on the, parsonage there at the church. And apparently the plumber, at one time they were gonna add an addition to the front. The plumber ran a pipe line there and put a cap on the end of it. Well, apparently this cap blew off. So we had a 3/4 inch line running wide open for I don't know how long. If Dustin hadn't came by and read the meter, we probably still wouldn't know about it. Because nobody's living in the parsonage at this moment while they're remodeling. So my question to the council is, would you be willing to consider some type of adjustment for this issue when the water bill comes out? Because it was totally beyond anybody's control with the church.
Ray, you know, we've got a policy regarding this, and we've always been worked with churches,
Okay.
anything, and, yeah.
But the main thing, I
It's-
wanted to just bring it to the council's attention that this had occurred, and it wasn't like
We'll find out.
somebody left a water hose on or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that was it.
We'll see.
Okay, when the
Of course,
water
it's
bill
probably
come
gonna be
out.
high, like
Oh,
you said.
who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how
But
long
no,
it's been running or anything.
we've always,
It was like 80,000 gallons, so it's gonna be a substantial.
Yeah, so, I mean, but nobody knew about it.
thank you for bringing it to our attention on that,
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
when we do get
Yeah,
it, I believe the board will
oh,
be
yeah.
looking
Okay,
to
thank
give.
you very much. I just wanted to bring it up to your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 5E, quote from Chris Hansen for bleachers, Councilwoman Brandy Peterson.
In the last meeting or whatever, I kind of put Mary Kay on the spot. Find out from Chris about bleachers. So I got the quote that's in your package. It's $83,000. This is brand new sets of bleachers, 10 rows, 100 foot. But in my conversation with Chris, he also let me know he had done a quote for Randy Hutcherson. Is the Lions Club maybe looking into replacing those bleachers? Because that's what I was going after him for, and he's already doing it for them, so. So do you know, Sammy, is the Lions Club? Because,
Whoa.
Chris gave Randy Hutcherson a quote for $23,700, I believe. And that's for the metal seats and floor planks and all the caps and ends and metal things to fix these bleachers over here. So I guess my question was, is the Lions Club working on, or is that something that they
No, the
talked
Lions,
about getting a quote on?
no. Now, I can't speak on behalf of Randy, but I know you know, it's town property. The bleachers are owned by the town of Pierson, that whole area, you know.
But that wouldn't, I mean, just because it's town property doesn't mean they can't donate or spend money on that equipment.
That's true.
But
That's true.
I just
No.
didn't know where else Randy Hutcherson was getting the same exact measurements as I was giving him for these same bleachers. And to fix them with metal is $23,000. And then, of course, the other quote in here that we tabled before from Travis was for $9,000 for the metal railing. So I was wondering, if the town's doing the railing, and the Lions Club is still thinking about getting quotes for the bleachers to fix them, I don't know, I just was very confused of what was going on there.
Yeah, the Lions Club's not getting prices, not that I have any knowledge about it, and
So we're just putting these backs on the regular wooden bleachers up there that we already have.
we're trying to make them a little safer, because there's some of the bleachers that have no railing or no back, that's correct. And some of them do have a railing in the back. So this would,
There's 4 sections of like 13, they're like 13 and a half feet long, 15 rows up, and the same exact quote Chris gave Randy, which he's telling me it would be the same quote that he would give us, $23,000. But this
Okay.
quote in our package is for brand new, never been used, top to
That's
bottom,
the 83 grant,
concrete.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And this is something that a grant could find money for down the road.
yeah. That's
Well,
But now we know, at least we know a price range, and we're spending $10,000 a year to fix bleachers or get brand new ones that we don't have to fix, and that's just kind of where I was.
Brandy,
But
didn't
Just to
say,
make sure that he said that there was no markup on that whatsoever, and that you could order it directly from
Yes,
the company,
yes.
so.
Yeah, this is directly from the grandstand company, there's no markup on Chris's.
Well, and just so y'all know, I mean, like I think we talked about before, if it's over a certain number, we've got to get multiple bids.
Right.
This is way over that number, yeah.
Brandy, didn't you say the 23, that was just the material, that didn't include any of the labor to
Yeah,
install
that did not include the labor to install it, that was just the metal with floor, or the planks for the seat and the foot planks and the caps and things. I was just bringing this back to where I had it on there before.
Thank you.
I know for a long time, Pierson is missing the opportunity on grants. And I don't know what we've got to do to get that turned around, but I know 20 years ago, of course, Jacksonville's a huge city, but they've got, back when my daughter was barrel racing, there is an equestrian center out off of west of 295. It's gotta be a $4 or $5, $8 or $10 million equestrian center, and every bit of that was grant money.
Right.
So we've got to get off the bench and get on the ball regarding these grants, because I know, you know, there's a lot of grant money out there, but we've got to get, I don't know what all we got to do, but I'll tell you what,
We're gonna turn around and that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we've let some
We got-
grants expire that we had, I mean, we've got to follow through, we got
yeah,
to
that was
do
right,
this.
yeah.
We can't be letting free money go away, because we
No,
don't
that's
have
for
the
sure.
time.
That's for sure.
But I think we're in the right process. Ryan has worked and been on conference calls and stuff, trying to figure out the grant thing.
And I think, you know, Sergi had mentioned at our last meeting that Florida League of Cities also has some resources
Yes.
available for that, so it's just a matter of kind of pulling together. Everyone that I've talked to basically asked me the same thing, do you have a priority list, can you show me like your top 3 projects? But I'd like to get a consensus from everybody before I just start putting stuff together, so I haven't really gotten to the meat of any of it yet for that reason. So I've been making lists of what I think we need at different places, but as a council, we should probably all discuss that.
We need to do that, right, yeah, go ahead and get it done, yeah.
Then we'll throw a workshop.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah, let's go ahead and get a list made and we'll have it on file and when they ask you, you know, what's your priorities? Oh, here they are.
Mhm.
And maybe that'll help us expedite them instead of, you know, trying to run around at the last minute to get everything taken care of and then lose out on half of it.
Well, and this quote for this A3, it has the ADA ramps, I mean, it has you can push the wheelchair, I mean, this is, if we're talking about ADA compliant, we're fixing to have to spend some money to get there. Cause none of those over there
Mm-mm.
are.
Okay.
Well, so, I mean, going back to the bleacher thing, we never have decided on, what are we gonna do regarding the ramps? I mean, are we gonna try to do something before the rodeo, or?
Well, there's still the other,
Oh, that's right,
Quote.
it's coming up, okay.
But
Under
that-
old
that-
business.
I mean, yeah, that's gonna help it, but without a ramp to get on there, the bleachers ain't gonna be ADA. Just by putting those rails on the back and the sides, that's not gonna get
No,
us there. but-
they're not, but for years, I know the Lions Club had an area roped
Yes,
off for
right.
for wheelchair,
Yes.
yes, wheelchair people. And the members of the Duval home, isn't it? Yeah, they had a special area for them right there at the southeast corner of the rodeo grounds, where, you know, where people that need wheelchairs have an area.
And that works.
It does work,
But-
and but we'll have to make sure, and I'm sure the Lions Club will continue to do that, you know, until we get things like it's supposed to be.
okay, we won't be able to
But-
do anything with this.
No.
Okay. Okay, moving to the next item, 5F, culvert.
Can I stop? Do we have to put discussion and action behind everything to be able to do something? I'm just curious, cause I need
No.
to start having her put that.
Not necessarily, but if it just says discussion,
Right.
you know, it might not be sufficient to justify action. Now, if the item is sufficiently descriptive, like if there's a description, so for example, if it says, First Baptist Church adjustment for water leak, and then there's a description, someone wants to ask the town council, and then it's clear from that there's gonna be an action, you know, then it's fine, you know, public has notice. But if it's just something like DRA, could be anything, it's really not sufficient notice. Yeah, so discussion, I like discussion and action, just because it's, you can't go wrong.
Can't get wrong, right, it covers it all.
Yeah. Thank you, sorry.
Okay, item number 5F, culvert on North Road, discussion and action. Councilwoman Sergia Cardenas.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I do have some pictures here I wanted to show the council. I've been pretty cautious on passing through my road every day. I'm pretty sure it's the consequences of also these trucks coming in and out of the area where the DRA or the report we have here. It's broken. I mean, there's a big dip on the road. I think last.
And there's a crack there now.
Yes, it's a crack, and
Yeah.
now I.
Is that relatively new?
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
It is. When I took the pictures, it
Fully,
was.
dirt's very heavy.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
So, I got down and off my car and I took some pictures of it. The middle culvert is broken.
Yes.
And the two side culverts, there's three. The two side culverts are very rotten. I'm pretty sure if they're not broken, they will be soon. So, we just had the same issue, I think, last year, where I think SDOT replaced them. We
Built
currently
right
have a
construction.
cement
Right,
one.
built
Built right
Oh,
construction,
okay.
replace that one,
Here's
yeah.
quoted it.
So, we need to fix this one because it's,
It gets worse.
danger.
It's getting worse, like you say, with those,
Trucks coming
yeah,
out of there.
this was brought up by councilperson, Gray, and
Yes, it was.
they were rotting them. But I believe I believe since those dump trucks are going over it daily, the road is definitely cracked now.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
It's
it's the whole.
definitely cracked, and there's a nice hole.
There's a serious danger. I know that the boats come in and out or right down the road for the Glen. So it's a serious danger and we have to take care of it.
I remember that, we did give that to Bill Wright. We did get a quote from the county though that was quite a bit less expensive, but it wasn't a concrete culvert.
Correct.
It was the concrete culvert that was put in there should last, several generations, I would think, because it's done right. But the county quoted us as to putting another, galvanized culvert in. And, so.
So do we need to get quotes from the county and Built Right again, or?
We need to get quotes to make this repair, yes. And just as y'all were discussing, that we did about a year ago put a new culvert in. Built Right actually installed it. So now this is on the same road. It's another one that's collapsing.
It's only 50 feet from the last one. I mean, we should have probably done it all in the one go, but it wasn't there then.
So we'll get a quote and bring it back, take action on it. Okay. Thank you, Sir Jim. Okay.
Before you make one,
Yes.
whatever, 168 Second Avenue. Considering, I know those big dump trucks are definitely causing a problem on that road. The traffic on that road has also been greatly increased since the county has opened that boat ramp up down there. And I think maybe, I don't know if we could or not, but discuss this with the county, maybe they can give us a little assistance on fixing that, since that traffic is just, I don't know how much it's increased, but it's a lot.
It's definitely increased.
I know about my friend Brian Ashcraft's place, and you see boat after boat after boat going in and coming, so. Just as a thought, maybe we could also ask the county to help us out with that.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
That's for sure.
Okay, next item, 5G updates by mayor. As I think all of you know, they're working on our elevated tank, doing the improvements, with the power vent and the mixer and I don't believe the valves have been put in yet, the electric valves. But that's a work in progress there. We're still waiting on they're working on it, but we're still waiting on the water samples to come back for our new water plant, I believe. I don't know if Mark, do you want to speak to any of these different?
Well, I think you explained the status of the water tower.
Yeah.
I think most of that is complete. I think there's a little bit more work we're going to do because the pressure valves, new pressure valves have been installed, so I think they're going to now bypass, or there's some discussion of bypassing the older pressure valve that's on the tank. In regards to the new water plant, I think SGS is still making arrangements, correct, for the sampling, for the sampling.
They're trying to expedite that, so when I talk to them, ASAP, so we're just waiting.
Well, I think, weren't they looking, biometrics quoted as something ridiculous?
Biometrics quote was very high, and Kyle Cruz at SGS basically called me and said that he's reached out to several other operators who do that thing, who have a license to do that kind of thing. Most of them are busy, or they don't want to drive this far, like for instance, he had some in Ocala, but in Ocala, they'd have to come here basically, because they pull and run samples multiple times a day. They have to basically camp out here for a week. So what they've decided is they think next week, they had a project this week, but next week SGS's foreman is going to be on a project in Ormond. He's gonna come over here himself, pick up the samples and take them back to a lab in Ormond, just to get us through this stage of it so we can get the wells online. But in the future, there is some discussion about maybe looking for a different operator in this area. So SGS has been nice enough to kind of reach out to people on our behalf. But that's the status. Last I heard from Kyle last week is that they couldn't do it this week, so potentially sampling next week. And they'll just do it themselves for right now.
How much difference is it, Ryan, from SGS and?
The biometrics quote was $19,000, and someone told me that that's like a year's worth of sampling. Usually 3 days of sampling is like less than $3 or $4 grand, not $20,000. So he called me personally, and then Todd Bush from Seth Cohen actually stopped by here in person to say, please don't go with this quote. This is a crazy amount of money. So, that's where we're at.
And that's the third occurrence that we've had with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you'll remember, they tried to charge us like $22,000 to replace that totalizing flow meter, and we found a company to do it for $6,000. So,
Yeah. And before that, it was the same scenario.
Same thing.
So we're
Yeah.
gonna be looking.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's all I have at this time. I might reserve the right to come back. I'm gonna move to the next item, 5H, update town projects from our town attorney.
Couple things. I'm going to request for the next agenda that we put on there airport and airplane stuff, because there was a concern that was raised about kind of the abandoned and derelict stuff. I'm prepared to talk about it, but I think it needs to be on the agenda for some decisions. There's a whole long procedure about how you handle that kind of stuff, so it's just something we need to talk about. Second, I've been playing phone tag with the property appraiser, but I'm going to ask to have that on the agenda at the next meeting as well, regarding valuations for leases and how that's going to affect what we do. And then finally, I'm also going to ask, just to go through all the items at the next meeting, we still have an open case, helping out Miss Kathy Whidden with the nuisance property. Now, we got the preliminary injunction, things improved, but I'd like to end the case, and I need to talk to you about what that would entail. So that will be coming up. I'll ask to have that on the next
Have it
agenda.
on as an
Yes,
agenda item,
correct,
and then you'll go over
for
that.
some decisions, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I see the sidewalk is on old business, so I'll be prepared to talk about that when you want to talk about it.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Kristen. Okay, updates on town projects from our town planner.
Earlier this evening, we had the planning commission meeting. They reviewed a draft that I prepared for them that would amend the side ordinance to allow electronic message center signs. They recommended approval of that to town council. That will be coming to a future agenda. So we'll have a proposed ordinance in front of you amending the sign ordinance to allow electronic message center signs. Next time I'll be here to meet with people to talk about their land use and zoning issues will be July 18th. I think my next regular scheduled time would be July 4th, all on Thursday. And we've already talked about the work.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Okay. Under old business, quote for sidewalk limitless discussion and action. This was tabled from 6/11. Councilwoman Brandy Peterson.
Last time I got the quote from Rodriguez for the repair, the sidewalk, $30,000. Then I believe that you
Yeah,
had gotten
one from Billy Schmidt
to
finally,
repair, to remove it.
2,500 to replace it, same 200 square foot. And or, 1,000 to remove it and grade it. And I don't know how y'all feel, but I'm getting about sick and tired of hearing this. And there were 5 vehicles parked on that damn sidewalk yesterday.
So one thing I was gonna tell y'all is, I kind of looked into how other cities deal with this kind of thing, and I found some interesting examples where other cities pass an ordinance that does a couple things, or you could, for example. One thing you could do is, you can regulate that the same way that you do general code. In other words, DRA complaint, that kind of stuff, fine. Almost like a noise ordinance. If it's in violation, you can start fining people that way. In other words, if there's any parking going on. If you don't want that, you could regulate it. The other thing is, a lot of cities, it kind of surprised me, pass laws that require the property owners themselves to keep and maintain those sidewalks. And I think that just based on their discussion, it may be something that you want to consider, it may not be. But that could include cleaning, it could include pressure washing, it could include other general maintenance. You can impose some of those obligations on property owners, believe it. I was kind of surprised about that, but I've seen it, so.
I mean, I'm even contemplated sending them a bill for this. I mean, they're the reason that the sidewalk is broken.
I think that you can impose that by law. I don't know that you can do it without some kind of an ordinance or something. But you can impose maintenance obligations, you can impose code violations if it's not properly maintained or if it's being parked on, that kind of thing.
We're gonna have to be behind them every time because, I have a few pictures on my phone where they're parked on there all the time, so I don't see why we shouldn't just get rid of the sidewalk
Get
and
rid of
they
it.
can just go ahead and park.
And let them park there. That's what I'm thinking.
Nobody uses it. If they park on the sidewalk, it means that they're not using the sidewalk and nobody else is using the sidewalk. So let's just get rid of it.
The sidewalk's just the start of that problem right there. That's a huge problem right there. Is Limitless take in 50 vehicles and they'd only have room to park 25? Well, they need to only take in 25 vehicles. Because we opened it up to park on that road and somebody's gonna be hurt right there. And it's all because of Limitless. We've done all of this stuff because of Limitless to help them. And it's not a help. If you have to stop, just the other day, I stopped when you were pulling off of Short Street by the daycare, right there. You have to stop and let somebody go by on the street because of their parking on it. And then they're parking on the sidewalk. I thought that's the reason why we let them park on the road, so they weren't parking on the sidewalk. Well, now they're parking on the sidewalk and the road.
So from what our attorney just shared with us, we can, through ordinance, enforce them not to park in that area. Just think about this, if you do take the sidewalk out, then aesthetically, it is a main road that goes, when you turn, you're going to the old part of the town, to the post office and the doctor's office and Ace Hardware. And aesthetically, that, you're going to just have all that with, we're going to be encouraging them you can park all this with solid cars. And it's.
But they're doing it anyhow.
Yeah, they're already doing that, so, and on the road, and on the sidewalk.
But he just shared with us, we had the means to make it where that wouldn't be allowed.
We've made these means to make it allowable right now. We are the ones that did this, to park on the road and tell them they couldn't park on the sidewalk. They're not listening to us. So That's the
What-
only sidewalk in that whole area.
What if we don't,
Figure out how we can alleviate this with that one. 'Cause, I mean, there was just as many people parking up there when Jared had it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just too damn close to the road, that's all it is to
And
it.
it's just too much, that, they
And
want,
they're
But-
taking too much.
But I think it would be best, I think it'd be best if we just take the damn sidewalk up
I do too.
and
Mr. Mayor, you want?
yes,
My question, the sidewalk doesn't go to the county road, it only goes one thing
To the-
over in the next parking, or
To the
next
railroad.
parcel, correct? So it doesn't go the whole way to
Yes.
county road, it's just right there and then,
and then it goes to the palm tree to the
yeah.
west.
yes. Yes,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Paul George, 270 Richardson Lane. So didn't a few meetings ago, there was discussion of putting no parking signs right in there? I thought because of the traffic coming out of Fountain Drive, you can't see any cars coming from the east. I thought that was a no park, supposed to be a no parking.
There was, and we had talked about at a prior meeting, we kind of wanted to wait until we, made the decision of how we were gonna, if we were gonna be, repairing or keeping what we have, because if we take the sidewalk out, then you have no ability to,
I don't believe that. That makes zero sense. Somebody's gonna have to explain that to me. That you can't enforce a damn law because there's no sidewalk there?
I think you can.
That's absolutely ludicrous.
I think you have control over your roads, you know. So if it's a municipal or county road that goes through a municipality, then you can put signage up and control your roads, right? So
Makes sense
we've
to
talked
me.
about that in the context of speed limits. But similarly, I think you can determine that for parking as well.
Isn't that so our side of the road anyways? I mean,
I
Our
thought
right of way to
we
the-
have a right of way.
Yeah, we got a right of way.
That
I think there's
sidewalk-
options. I think there's options.
so to answer your question, we could, from what, Christian is saying, we could go ahead and put the signs up that they don't park.
Well, I thought that's what we had decided, or the council had decided.
The council did, and then at our last, meeting, question was raised, and we were kind of, but from what Christian is saying, I think we can go ahead and install the
So
signs.
there's a second part to my comment. Christian said a few minutes ago that there may be some fines for people parking on sidewalks and whatever. Just because you're gonna have a problem down here, just north of the fruit stand, that house, just put the fence up with a big fancy gate. So when they come home at lunch or at noon to eat or whatever, instead of going in their gate, they're parking on the sidewalk there. So you're gonna have an issue there in the future also. I've seen 3 different occasions of trucks sitting out on that sidewalk. On 17.
On the 17th.
Just north of the fruit stand, that wood frame house.
Well, we maybe need to work on an ordinance for something, but for tonight, for today, this issue that's been on the agenda, how many times, I think we need to kill it. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay?
I move that we remove the sidewalk on the south side of Limitless and have it graded. You wanna have Billy do it? Or you think our guys can do it?
I think our guys could just, if we're gonna knock the sidewalk out, the concrete.
Do we have the equipment to do that?
I don't
Do they
know.
have hammer jack, tractor,
I don't know, I think I'd let Billy do it.
Let Billy do it?
Okay,
Okay.
in my motion, I'd like to add that we have Billy Schmidt from Will Do Concrete remove it and grade it for $1,000. That's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor by, Lenny Richardson to have, what's the name of the,
Billy Schmidt Will Do Concrete.
Billy Schmidt Concrete, to have him remove the sidewalk and, grade it, there, in front of, Limitless, there on, that would be on the,
South side of Limitless.
yes, Is there a second?
$1,000.
For
Second.
$1,000. Seconded by Sergio Cardenas. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried.
When you do all that, you're gonna put that parking sign there?
Our legal counsel says yes, that we can put no parking on the corner, but
I mean, it wasn't part of your motion, so that's not what's been passed. If y'all want to take that up, you can.
So add that to my motion?
You can reconsider.
just make another motion.
Yeah, you might as well.
Okay, I'd like to amend my motion to add that we will also install no parking on right-of-way signs in this area immediately.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Lynn Richardson to put no parking signs on the right-of-way area there at Limitless. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sergio Cardenas. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, item number 6B, roof repair or replacement, various buildings, new town center, tabled from 6/11. Discussion and action. Councilwoman Lenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I have received a quote, it was 20-something thousand, and then, Vice Mayor Greenland just obtained a quote. I don't think, is it in our packet?
Yes.
What was it, Bobby?
Yes, yes, to tell,
It's 13.8.
yeah, 13.8.
Yes. And then, looks like there's another one here, I can't read it.
That one is 16,700.
yeah, 16.7.
Okay.
Well, we've got several quotes.
Yeah,
So,
And they're all the same 26 gauge middle weight.
I have a question, Ren, on the, I don't know how you say that,
Sotelo.
Sotelo. It, at the bottom with 1,500, is that addition to the 13?
That's in addition to 13 if you want to make the repairs for 2 damage on 2 and 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was up here that day, so I just want to make sure.
it's still the,
That's the leaks.
Yeah, that's the leak.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
least
that's the leak. The Sotelo is the least expensive for that roof job.
and if they've done work in the area,
Fun.
They did, they put the roof on my office, and,
They told me
they
they've
put a
done
roof on Scott
spaces.
Jones's house
Yeah.
on High Point
Mhm.
this summer, or recently. And they did Billy Smith's also, when Billy saw that job they were doing on mine, so he had them put a roof on his packing shed. And, so I know of 3 jobs they've done here.
They told, that when they
Recently.
were up here that day, they had told me a bunch.
Yeah, I think they've
Cause I
done a
had
lot.
told them that you had spoke highly of them or whatever, and then they're like thinking back of which one.
Yeah, which one it was,
Shit.
yeah. It's been a while. Well, that was last December they did
Yeah.
mine. Yeah, it's been 7 months. But I thought they did excellent work, and they're thorough, they clean up, I mean, it's.
well, there you have it, a good referral
If
from
we're-
our
if
vice
we're going-
mayor.
If we're going to do that, I'd say we need to go with Sotelo.
absolutely, okay, so I'll put this in a form of a motion to contract with Sotelo Roofing, to repair the 2, places in question, one for 13,800 and the other for 1,500.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Lenny Richardson to go with Sotelo Roofing for a new roof for 13.8.
Yeah, that's on this building, correct?
Yes,
That's
the
this building 1.
The sheriff's.
the sheriff's, that whole building.
Yeah,
And repairs to the west.
right.
And then also an additional $1,500 to repair building 2 and 5. Is that correct? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brandy Peterson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, item number 6C, Travis Roach. This is rodeo grounds tabled from, it was tabled on 5/28 and 6/11 to make the repairs to the bleachers over at the rodeo grounds. And I think you have that quote also in your packet. I know the Saddle Club uses
Is there a total number of bleachers that this has to be done on?
well, this will be, make repairs on both sets, the ones that are on the north side and the ones that are on the south side. In other words, both, there's,
Both of the big sets, cause I'm confused too, cause there's 4 small sets on the north side with the one large set that already has the railing on it, and the same with the south side. There's one section that already has the backing, and then like 3 or 4 sets of bleachers that don't. This 9,000 covers all of those bleachers?
that covers all of the ones except there's a couple little small, very small aluminum bleachers that it does not cover that. They're kind of like, they're about the size of the ones over at the Little
There are
League.
like 5 seats.
5 seats.
Yeah, yeah.
But those larger bleachers, the bleachers that are over there on the north and the south side, that just a couple of years ago we went through there and replaced and put all new timber, lumber. This will, and then some of it has railing. This will put railing up in the areas that has no railing and make it more, a little safer.
I just wish I knew how many sets this entails.
Right.
I really do. I hate to vote on it before, and I don't even know how many sets of bleachers it
It
entails.
doesn't say.
And-
It's
and,
kind of
yeah.
right.
But
One,
I'm gonna move to table this until, and I should have done, all of us should have done it by now, but we need to know exactly what we're voting on.
Well,
And
it's,
how much, so, and I want to see it myself.
okay. It's all the existing
Bleachers except the small ones,
small ones, yes, bringing them,
just the 5 high ones.
put all railing and back railing.
I've been over there 500 times and I can't tell you.
But yeah, I'd encourage you, if you're not sure, then go over there and look, but it,
I'm gonna move the table this one more time then.
okay.
I move the table.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by our Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland to table 6C, Travis Roach Rodeo Grounds, the bleachers. Is there a second?
second.
Seconded by Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, that finishes the agenda. Do you have anything else at this time, Christian?
No, sir.
No? Or Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland?
Yes, Yvonne and Ryan, I'm just curious as to our 4th of July donations. Oh, Marcy's taking care of that?
You're looking for a total?
Yeah, I'd like to know what our,
I don't know off the top of my head. Mark
I mean, we got several businesses that always,
Yeah, we've had several. of our
We're in the
usual-
$3,000 range, but we've all.
We're in the how much?
Around the $3,000 range, and we've received gift cards from Publix and some other places also. Not actual monetary, but like gift cards to go to Publix and buy stuff for the 4th of July.
I see.
But last year, I know some rolled in like right before.
Right
some
before.
even came in after.
Afterwards.
Right.
So, we won't really know probably the final.
Okay, I was just curious. I'll come up and see Marcy
We
tomorrow if I can remember.
We expanded our reach a little bit this year and sent letters to neighboring businesses and neighboring
Good.
towns, because we figured people from Master and Florida,
Sure, yes.
they come here too.
Yeah.
So we
That's a good
tried
idea.
to cast a bigger net.
I'll tell you what else, and I don't think we've ever done it because I've never received one, I don't think. Afterwards, we need to send out thank you letters. Certificates of appreciation. You know,
Yeah.
I would do that rather than thank you letter. Yeah, we need to send that, we need to start doing, we should have done it years ago. But we definitely need to do that, start on that this year for sure. That's all I have.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Sergio Cardenas.
No, okay.
Okay, Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
Just a couple things. We had talked about having the, land to the west of the community center. We were looking into having it resodded and fencing that in and all. So Charles Gate finally got back with me and he said, oh, you're not gonna like this. And he's talking $18,000-$19,000 to resod that area.
Gee, man.
I said, oh my God, Charles. He said, how about I give you some prices on seating? And I said, how about you do that? So he has not got back with me yet. And Rusty Peterson will probably be out the first of next week to check the generators.
Good deal.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Lenny. Brandy Peterson.
A couple things about 4th of July that I have written down. Ryan did get a hold of Sam this morning and got all the hamburgers ordered. The funnel cakes and all have been in. And then I believe that you said Boyd went today.
They went today and picked up all the frozen,
Right.
refrigerated stuff, drinks, that kind of stuff.
So all that's going good. The only other question I had was, Mark, sewer system at the town center, September's fastly approaching that. Any update?
Not at this time, we're continuing to discuss, have discussions with the school board. The school board, is amenable to the idea of postponing the requirement for us to get off that system, but obviously none of those discussions are final.
Okay,
That's all.
that's all I have. Okay. Okay, this time, good and welfare for, at this time for public participation. Yes, sir.
Les Kelly, 363 North Pine Street. Sorry I missed the last couple meetings, and y'all already answered my questions, but 4th of July celebrations still go next week?
Yes.
What time does that start?
4 to 8.
4 to 8? Fireworks are at 9?
And the Volusia County Fire Marshal did lift the burn ban. Last week, we were talking about it, we didn't know, because there was a burn ban in place, which would, not enable us to have the fireworks, but that had, the rain that we've been blessed with, that has been lifted. So. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Please be aware of the following meetings schedule. Regular council meeting Tuesday, June the 9th at 6:30. July the 9th. And then Tuesday, July the 23rd at 6:30. Planning Commission meeting, next one is scheduled for Tuesday, July the 16th at 5:30. Want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming. Being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.